everyone, Pineapple and Apple here with the next 4 episodes of Miraculous Ladybug, our second last video of Season 1. Last episode we got an okay showing, Animan being the most abysmal, but with the decent episode that was Antibug, throw in okay episodes like Puppeteer and The Gamer, and we had an all-around okay time. But let's hope we get some really high highs this time around. Although with one episode named Guitar Villain, I wonder how good some of these could really end up being. Without further ado, let's start with episode 19, Reflector. So, it's apparently photo day at Francois Dupont, and a photographer with a strange, what I think is supposed to be an Italian accent, which really makes you think, after the weird language stuff in Kung Fu with the main characters sounding like basic English speakers, would all Americans and British people have heavy accents? Does French even exist, or are we in some sort of alternate timeline where the British had enough influence over early France that the only part of their language that remains are names like Francois Dupont? I usually don't have this problem with anime dubs, but here it's wigging me out. Marinette is of course happy to be in a photo with Adrian, Alia doing her best to put up with it. But it seems today's member of the class to get a focus is Juleka, everyone's favourite goth, who is being pep-talked by Rose as apparently Juleka is jinxed against having good photos. I know what she means, it makes me sound psychopathic, but when school photos came around I could never get the smile quite right. It always felt weird and forced. We get a decently funny montage of how photos have gone wrong in the past. Marinette now less focused on Adrian and therefore being a more interesting character. It's like a graph at this point. The higher her focus on Adrian, the less her likability for me. For at least 3 more seasons. Mario over here starts the photo prep, Chloe making a quickly resolved stink, but no matter where Ivan is placed, Mario, what's his real name? Vincent can't get the photo right. This goes on for a while as more problems are made, and eventually Juleka pieces out. Sabrina follows her into the bathroom like a creep on Chloe's orders, and manages to block her in with a chair, meaning she misses the photo. Marinette is the only one who seems to notice, as for some reason, the principal doesn't even realise who Juleka is, and it's only after some crying Rose manages to find her girlfriend. Yeah, there's something about these two. I don't recall if they're officially together, apart from people saying the creator Thomas apparently confirmed on Twitter that they're together, but from Princess Fragrance forward, it does seem like the show takes every second it can to point out how close they are. But even if not, I'll call them that anyway. Look, they're cute together. They're even aesthetically pleasing with the whole contradiction of bubblegum and goth. Enough about the lesbians though, as it's nice to see at least Hawkmoth isn't homophobic, sending an Akuma off to Juleka like anyone else. Marinette and the girls are getting ready to upend Chloe, and decide to disappear the photo so they have to take a new one. But thanks to their skills in eavesdropping, Chloe and Sabrina hear these plans. The Akuma grabs Juleka as she cries, showing off what I can assume are just the worst tactical tears in her pants, turning into what I think would be a design inspired by her girlfriend, Reflector. Tiki boycotts Marinette's plan, but she's dead set. Chloe and Sabrina finding her, but there are bigger fish to fry when Reflector comes out of hiding. And while Erin Fitzgerald will be replaced as her actress next season, she does noticeably well as both sides of Juleka, both her normal self and as Reflector. Reflector's power is to make others copies of herself, targeting Chloe, but missing pretty much all of the main cast. Adrian manages to transform, Nino ruining his surprise attack, but with pretty slick moves, he traps Reflector and attempts to open the once blocked doors to let the students escape, but gets reflected, meaning he can't use his powers.
Help us, Cat Noir! I don't know how much longer I can stand being in this body!
Well, that was just rude and uncalled for. Unless he's having a crisis of gender. I mean, after all of these previous Akuma attacks, I'd think being a bubblegum latex nightmare for 5 minutes would be pretty low on the list of dangers. Chloe continues searching for Marinette, seeming to think she's behind a monitor somehow, but Marinette gets the upper hand by holding the photo hostage, and escapes thanks to Reflector, who finally finds Chloe, and Jesus, look at those lifts. Chloe gets reflected to little fanfare, allowing Marinette to transform, and figure out it's Juleka, thanks to Reflector's monologuing. They fight entertainingly for a bit, while Cat comes up with a plan as he learns to walk in platforms. Reflector gets pretty close to the earrings, but Cat rallies all the transformed as a distraction. Pretty clever, because what else can she do? Make you look like her more? Ladybug is confused and finds Cat's transformation hilarious.
Is it really you?
Of course it is. Can't you tell by my swagger? Am I still the cat's meow or what?
I don't know what to say.
How about a thank you for getting you out of that tight spot?
Sorry, Cat Noir, but you just don't look like yourself. But, thank you.
It's funny to see the model of Reflector act like Cat, but we go to that one building near the Eiffel Tower that I'm ignorant of and have to Google with just the strangest shot. It's like the Eiffel Tower is a model, but the animation ends at the road, and the rest of the city is a Truman-style painted wall. Reflector goes on a rampage, but Ladybug uses the news network to get everyone to differentiate themselves from Reflector, while the villain's model phases through the mayor's doors a little on her way to transform him, as he impressively stands his ground in the face of the fashion nightmare, after being such a bitch, most noticeably in Roger Cop. Ladybug's plan isn't the differentiation, but luring the Reflector to the station. But turns out, it's the mayor! Okay, I take it back, he sucks. Ladybug whips out the Lucky Charm, a camera, and with Cat turning out the lights, uses the flash to disorient her, allowing them to make her flail around and steal her bracelet, putting everything normal. Julia returns, and the mayor at least does something right in bringing Juleka back to school. Marinette returns as well, after suddenly realizing stealing is bad. You know, after all those times she's stolen phones and meant to have learned similar lessons. Marinette has a better idea, buttering the photographer up and having it done at the nearby park, getting Marinette next to Adrian and Juleka getting a bunch of happy photos. While Reflector has strange designs and a rushed out moral lesson, Juleka is a pretty compelling character, even if her woes basically amount to Chloe being a piece of shit again. Ladybug and Cat Noir were pretty entertaining, both in the fights and their interactions once Cat gets reflected. Although I can't say I cared much about Marinette's subplot. And the story doesn't seem to either, so I'll give episode 19, Reflector, a pretty cool 7 out of 10. Not amazing, but it's one that features the characters well, and it's pretty easy to re-watch. Next we have Guitar Villain, an episode I hope is more interesting than it's titled. We start with a montage of who can only be the guitar villain, Jagged Stone, wearing glasses that won't be made until next episode. God, I hate how this show has like 4 watch orders early on. Jagged is being pressured by his manager, Bob Roth, to collab with artist XY, which is just super nepotism as I'm pretty sure that's his son. But Jagged is fine with how his music is, not wanting to be a sellout. And that his crocodile, a fucking crocodile named Fang, and his agent Penny enjoy his music being enough for him. Penny plays mediator, deciding Marinette, who he will meet next episode for God's sake, should make his next album cover, meaning it's super new and cool and shway, and all those buzzwords that make it marketable.
Beyond shui.
So Bob Roth is sent to go after Marinette, who he attempts to manipulate into following his style. Pretty funny when she has the same critiques that Jagged does. Marinette tries, but just can't reconcile the styles, Tiki telling her to instead follow her gut and make the design her own. She makes what Bob wanted, but he steamrolls her when selling it to Jagged. But Jagged sees through Bob pretty easily, asking Marinette to do it again with their usual styles, and that makes Bob get really handsy, like, man, you gotta be 40 years older than her, stop touching her like that. Jagged watches Nadia's news program where XY has the weirdest interview where he completely changes his seating between shots like a maniac and basically says he's as sellouty as a sellout could be.
But it's over now. He'll never be number 1. Not while XY is here.
Why, you little perfume mad!
My music is killer.
He's stealing my catchphrases!
XY is performing at the Eiffel Tower, calling Jagged out, pissing him off enough to feed his iPad to Fang, and to get on Hawkmoth's radar, getting in his guitar and making him Guitar Villain. God, that name still sucks. What is it in French? It has to be better. They just took away one of the L's. Or should I say, when they translated it into English, they gave it the L. Okay, that joke kinda sucked, but still couldn't be worse than this episode title. Oddly enough, Fang transforms with him, and as Marinette leaves, she sees Adrian outside, who I guess had to fill that dubbing space because he says hi to her at least 3 times.
Hey, Marinette. Hey, hi.
Hey! Oh, what's going on? I mean, how's up?
And then stands there rod straight as she fails to answer, only for Chloe to come swanning in, making him really uncomfortable and entering a really strange walk cycle. Who Who sedated the animators for this scene? Marinette decides to design it her way, utterly confusing Gorilla, while Chloe tries to get along with Adrian. But that's short-lived as Jagged, now guitar villain, Jesus, enters the lobby with a massive akumatized fang, now a dragon, which is a pretty cool design choice for a villain with such a shitty name. I'm not liking the effects on his new dreads, but his powers gave me a good laugh as he forces the people his riff hits to dance in honestly quite silly ways. Adrian leaves Chloe in a similarly funny way, and then gets put into another strange animation cycle. What are they doing to Adrian this episode?
Yeah, guitar villain! Woo!
First they can't write his dub lines well, now the animators are floundering for time? The clips of the extras being controlled aren't as intimidating as it should be, but the action between the Akuma and Cat manages to hit the middle between badass and comedic perfectly.
Welcome to my fan club, baby!
Hearing the fight, Marinette decides to transform and hides behind a tree. Pretty sure I've yelled at this show for having them transform in busy areas expecting no one to notice them behind a tree before, but it's still stupid. The action continues to look good as they both fight the villain, following him to the top of the Eiffel Tower to attack XY, but turns out he isn't even there. It's just a special effect guy. So he heads to the TV studio while the heroes fail to catch up before more damage can be done. Ladybug, with a good idea, calls Nadia, which, I don't know, would leave me questioning how a superhero got my number. But either way, she does her best to evacuate the station, Alec and XY being less than useful, but they manage to make it out before Guitar Villain gets there. XY acts like an asshole, not worthy of the voice actor he's played by, getting himself caught anyways. And anyway, Guitar Villain takes him to the Eiffel Tower. Ladybug and Cat taking their sweet time to arrive, as it's literally night by the time they get there. Guitar Villain attempts to make XY walk the plank. A pretty interesting visual from the Eiffel Tower, and although Guitar Villain seems to unleash his ultimate move, XY doesn't budge. This allows Ladybug time to round up Fang and fly him towards XY, and his utterly strange posture. So after some terrible puns and misdirection, they slam Fang into the tower, trapping him with some animal cruelty, but with the help of a lucky charm, hair gel, they fight once more. Cat destroying his sound waves as a distraction, as Ladybug blinds Guitar Villain using XY as a battering ram to destroy the guitar and fix everything. Don't know what XY eats to make his ass that powerful, but sure. Jagged gets Cat an autograph, while Hawkmoth, of course, gets another shitty monologue.
Don't do your victory dance just yet, because one day I'll play you my favorite music, the anthem of your defeat, Ladybug and Cat Noir.
And the next day, Marinette manages to finish the album cover, which Jagged loves, refusing Bob's offer for another cover and putting them both in the spotlight, as the record hits #1. And Marinette keeps winning, as the next day Adrian asks her to autograph his copy. And the episode ends with Marinette celebrating her win. So that was Guitar Villain. Apart from the stupid name, this episode was middling, there were many missteps in animation, and the English dub, which is how I watch the show, Christina V for the gold, and there were many uninteresting plot points, like all of XY's character, and Bob Roth's pedophile heir.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
That doesn't mean it was without great stuff. Jagged and Fang are fun, and Marinette wasn't insufferable. So I'll put this in the middle of the road at 5 out of 10. Not one I love, but not one I despise either. So after the strangeness of Guitar Villain, still a terrible name, we jump into Pixelator, starting with Marinette's class on a work experience trip at Andre Bourgeois' hotel, graded by Bustier. But with the pairs made by Chloe, which of course means she gets to drape over Adrian all day, and just as Marinette is about to be given a position, Jagged Stone walks in. Ah, look at that, we spent so long covering these I can't tell if this is our first timeline inconsistency or not. I don't think it's that big a deal. There's a timeline order to watch these episodes, but along with that there are an additional 3 different release orders, depending on app and region. But these are streamlined in future seasons even if they are released out of order, so we shouldn't get many more of these inconsistencies popping up in the future. Penny and Jagged put Andre on the back foot, quite funnily. And with the appearance of celebrity comes Clout Chaser, a photographer, Vincent Azar. Kinda weird both photographers prevalent in the show so far are called Vincent, but whatever. He's known and loathed by Jagged, Fang even sniffing and scaring him out. This guy's a bit of a creep and is thrown out by Penny, which is immediately enough for Hawkemoth to send an Akuma to him. Really? We must be scraping the bottom of the barrel this time around. Andre assigns Marinette to help with Jagged's needs, making it her mission to find a very specific pair of glasses. But she takes the easy way out by finding glasses just kinda similar, but not at all. Jagged not really appreciating it, which is a nice moral, as she speeds away to make the glasses herself. Once she gets away, we see our first proper look at Pixelator, who uses his face camera to capture people within, immediately using Chloe's idiocy to his advantage. But as Adrian tries to save her, he gets captured too. He should have just left her to die.
Let it die, let it shrivel up and... Come on, who's with me, huh?
Marinette sits down to start working, almost injuring Tiki in the process.
Don't worry, I'm sure Jagged Stone will love them. Or hate them.
While Chloe realizes she's trapped alone with Adrian, rubbing herself on him like a cat. Strange, especially considering he's the cat. Marinette finds the lobby empty as she tries to deliver the glasses, but Pixelator is already working his way through the rooms, capturing Alec, and as Marinette delivers the glasses, we get to see Jagged doting on Fang, which is really cute. Once again, Pixelator arrives as Marinette departs. But thanks to elevator waiting times, she's still there to see the villain get Penny. Marinette immediately uses the elevator to transform. Good thing there wasn't anyone in the elevator, that would have been awkward. Pixelator spooks Jagged, but Fang is too pleasured to fight, so is taken out. Pixelator is really creepy and yandere-ish over Jagged. It's a good thing Ladybug is there to save him from the villain with a decent action set piece. But she's hit with a glancing blow, injuring her arm, but otherwise able to get away. It's then we get a pretty interesting interaction with him and Pixelator, as Pixelator gets fed up with Ladybug, and Hawkemoth has to injure him to get him to follow through with going after Ladybug, not just Jagged. Not something I think we've seen happen yet. Marinette almost outs herself to Jagged, and thanks to Jagged, she learns Vincent's identity, and once again we head back out into the void to see Chloe freaking out while Adrian does his best to separate from her. Pixelator starts going after civilians while Marinette finds his apartment, where all of the people he's taken are trapped in portraits. Thanks to the people in the portraits and a news broadcast, she knows where he is, and Jagged fancies himself a hero, deciding to fight Pixelator himself to get on TV. Ladybug makes her way to fight Pixelator, joined by the terrible dubbing of police cheering. The fighting is fine, not very interesting, but eventually Ladybug decides to trade the innocents for Jagged, for some reason being all sarcastic right in front of him, but somehow he doesn't hear her.
How about I free half of them now, then the other half after the photo shoot? Deal?
Okay, it's a deal. Yeah, right.
He releases half of them, allowing for some decent jokes and Adrian to become Cat. Once he arrives, Ladybug and Cat work together, but are foiled thanks to a random civvy. Wow, the civilians are all over the place in terms of quality today. Cat gets captured again. Jesus, if he were a Scooby-Doo stereotype, he'd be Daphne. Ladybug is hit again, but Jagged comes in clutch, annoying Pixelator enough for Ladybug to use her lucky charm to reflect his lens, while Cat uses his cataclysm on the photo world, releasing everyone. By the end, all is well, with Jagged giving concert tickets to our main four, and Jagged cleverly leads the episode out playing part of the intro theme, in dedication to Ladybug. So that was Pixelator, and it was fine. I think I like Jagged more here, and the episode got a fair few jokes in, with a consistent, if a little lost message. While Pixelator didn't look great design-wise, his powers were interesting, and allowed for some good action in the fights. So I'll put it just above Guitar Villain, but not as good as Reflector, at a 6 out of 10. Alright, lastly is Princess Fragrance. We start strangely as we get informed by the news of the latest Akuma incident by the television, but it seems Tiki isn't feeling her best and sends Marinette in the direction of a healer. But too bad for her, Marinette is already late for school. This episode is once again focused on fleshing out one of Marinette's classmates, being Rose. And Jesus, look at the eyes Juleka is giving her. A prince of the kingdom of Archu, Prince Ali,
Fabulous he, Ali Ababa,
with his strangely purple hair arrives, Rose apparently being quite infatuated with him. What a pansexual icon. Marinette stumbles into class for some more cringeworthy comedy, and Mendeleev gets even more pissed, having to confiscate Rose's perfume that she puts on a letter to the prince. a character trait I forgot she had, and one that I don't remember ever being brought up again after this episode. Marinette runs off to get Tiki to the healer, but trips into Adrian's arms, losing the mini-god to Chloe, who picks her up off the ground to gift to the prince to win his favour, while making sure Rose is depressed by shredding her letter in front of her. Rose cries like a whimpering puppy, and we get a whole montage of her attempting to rewrite the letter, which is actually quite effective in making the audience sympathise. Only for Hawkmoth to think she's stupid enough to moan. Before sending in Akuma, turning her into Princess Fragrance. I'll admit, while Erin Fitzgerald's high voice as Rose can be a little too obnoxious at times, I found myself really gelling with her performance as Princess Fragrance, where the tenor of the voice matches the evil, deranged personality much better than a cutie who wears far too much pink. Marinette strangely makes her way into the hotel. Wow. I realise while I like Rose, so far Marinette and Chloe's plots really aren't interesting to me. Even if Tiki's sickness is interesting, the focus of that B-plot is on Chloe. Fragrance's aesthetic looks quite goofy, as she looks like an absolute dwarf against the hotel security. And she demonstrates her power, hypnotic perfume. And while I find mind control plots lazy and obvious, for a show like this, being a villain of the week's power, it works fairly well. Much like with the other transforming villains, even if they can be goofy as shit in this show. Andre attempts to impress the prince, who seems a little down with his responsibilities, but has a simply fun nature that works well. He gets Tiki, Marinette still strangely sneaking around, when Fragrance appears, and attacks Chloe, making her smell repugnant. Yeah, I'm proud of that one, didn't even have to whip out the thesaurus. Marinette distracts Fragrance, but luckily this gives Adrian a chance and transforms while the prince runs. Ollie's manager is a lackluster and annoying stereotype, but quite cleverly Marinette uses a maid's vacuum to clear up the smoke. Not how I would think it would work, but a clever idea nonetheless. Ollie retreats once again, as does Marinette, but eventually Kat intercepts with some decent comedic turns, getting higher as Fragrance decides to follow using her gun as a mode of transport. The car is gassed, but that at least allows Marinette to find Tiki, and heading straight to the healer, a short elderly Asian man, Master Fu, apparently thinking it's a cat, but he knows far more than he's letting on. But hearing the accent again, it's strange because he's definitely played by a white guy, making it really comedic.
One who is burning with impatience can never eat hot porridge.
Marinette and Tiki share a nice little scene as Marinette apologises for losing her. But the plot needs to continue, so they transform and head to where Tiki heard Fragrance was going, the Pont des Arts. Somehow the villain whips out a magical padlock to seal their love forever on the bridge. No idea where she got it from or how that would have worked had Ladybug not sent it into the Seine. Ladybug puts a peg on her nose to block mental attacks, and while the fighting is kinda shit, the moves she makes while fighting Kat are thought out well. After a ridiculous line delivery from Kat,
Give me your Miraculous!
She baits him into sending her onto the fireworks boat from before, as Fragrance starts to fill the sky with her perfume like a Sontaran battle fleet.
Isolate them as they perish!
Recalling from Mendelev's class, with some pretty well thought out foreshadowing, that the gases interact poorly with fire, making a spectacular light show and ridding the sky of poison. Fragrance tries to escape, but thanks to the lucky charm, Ladybug defeats her easily, like less than 20 seconds. Ollie's manager freaks the fuck out, but once the confusion wears off, Rose gets to shoot her shot, Ollie deciding to do his next task with Rose instead of Chloe. Excellent choice, my guy. And the old man from before is in the end card, so as if he wasn't foreshadowed enough, take a good long look. So, that was Princess Fragrance, and the episode is all over the place. The detour introducing Fu is interesting, but doesn't tie into the plot well. The same with Tiki's sickness, not even using it as a venue for a message to the viewer or anything. The Akuma is also a little uneventful. Fragrance was interesting, but her minions were by the numbers beyond the funny way they spoke, and that wore off fast. But even though I was interested in Rose and her emotions, it was just Chloe being a bitch again, which as we come to the end of the season is becoming quite old as an Akuma motive already. Just off the top of my head, I remember her having heavy hands in the creation of Lady Wi-Fi, even if Alia was being a bit creepy, Dark Cupid, Kung Fu, Reflector, and Roger Cop. So I'll give Princess Fragrance a 5.5 out of 10. And that's where we leave off today. Only one more video to go and we're done with Season 1 after a fine showing this time around. Thank you everybody for watching my review of these episodes of Miraculous Ladybug. Please like the video if you liked it. Comment down below if you wish and consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, ring the notification bell so you're told every single time that I make the upload. And I will see you in the next review. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.